how do we get more people to space? We literally want every person on the planet to be able to fly on New Shepard.
How close are we to actually colonizing space?
I think a very deep intention of a species is to explore and, to spread out. That's what we always did.
In the last 5 years, Blue Origin has sent 92 people to space. That's more than 10% of all the people who've ever done it.
We call New Shepard the first step of flying millions of people to space for the benefit of Earth.
So how are they doing it?
When you do something over and over and over again, you increase reliability.
What is happening behind the scenes? Today, we're going to find out. We're headed to the Blue Origin launch site to see how they run their human spaceflight program and observe the launch of their 37 New Shepard mission, NS-37. We're gonna see how they train their astronauts, find out the goals of their mission, and document the entire launch process.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Tower clear.
So let's head out to the desert and see how they're getting to space.
Starting roll program.
The first step on this journey is getting to El Paso, Texas, where you're picked up by the Blue Origin team in Rivians on the tarmac at the airport. I want everybody to experience and understand Blue Origin through our lenses, and I want them to learn it as I learn at the same time. It's a 2-hour drive out to the launch site. It's an eerie ride through the desert landscape. And then the Blue Origin facility appears. 600 acres surrounded by the Guadalupe and Sierra Diablo Mountains. In the valley, you have Blue Origin's Launch Site 1, and nothing else. It looks like an industrial complex built on Mars. A proper setting for launching rockets. There are multiple zones on site. The Astronaut Village and Training Center, Mission Control, the mains hangars, the launch tower, and the engine testing facilities. How do you go about this when it comes to setting it up legally? It's like, we want to shoot some rockets up to sky. We don't want anybody looking at it. We want to keep it private. We want it to be safe. What a scene. Oh my God. How are you guys?
Ennis.
Good.
Jake.
Ennis,
Yeah, great to meet you.
Hi, Ennis. Sarah Phelps.
Sarah,
nice to see you.
This is so cool. This is so dramatic. It just kind of plays. The first stop is Astronaut Village, where we are greeted by our main guides, Jake Mills and Sarah Phelps, the head of Astronaut Experience. This is where the astronauts stay during their mission.
Welcome to Launch Site 1 in West Texas.
Thank you for having us here.
We got a busy schedule, so the first thing we're going to do is going to get you fit for your flight suit.
I'm excited. This is so cool.
Cool.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's get your flight suit fit.
Amazing.
Ennis, this is Addie, and she is our professional flight suit fitter.
They work efficiently here. The 3-day training process starts right away, led by Jake Mills. He's called Crew Member 7, or CM7. He runs astronaut training and is their hands-on guide in the field on launch day.
The suit looks good.
I'm used to wearing suits, not these types, you know?
You're looking more official and more official each step that we go.
Okay, sounds good. And they measure your weight down to the ounce.
On your weight. So there we go.
183.4. And why is it so important to have such accuracy when it comes to the weight?
We want to know the exact weight of that capsule because that affects the trajectory and also affects the center of gravity.
So when you're positioning people on the 6 seats, you can kind of distribute the weight very equally.
Equally, yep.
This is awesome. We're gonna learn a lot over the next 48 hours.
Nice.
Next stop during the intake process is hearing protection. The rocket is incredibly loud, so they custom mold earplugs for each astronaut.
Molded, unmolded.
Okay, let's get a close-up. A big difference. It makes me really think about my ear cavity, but you know. Then our next stop is for the payload aspect of the mission, where each astronaut gets to bring a special item up to space. Ines?
Ines, I'm
Nuare
Laura.
Styles.
Nice to meet you.
This is one of the special stations that we have right when we welcome people down to Texas.
Okay.
Everybody who gets to fly gets to bring a bag, 3 pounds of things that are important to them, meaningful to them.
As soon as they told us we could fly something to space, we knew it had to be our candles. And I'll explain more later, but it was meant to be. Then our last stop on day 1 of this experience is a quick look at the accommodations with Sarah Phelps, Director of Astronaut Experience.
We toyed around with a couple different options and then we landed on Airstream. There is a long history with the space industry and NASA. Some of the original Apollo astronauts quarantined in Airstreams, but as I will show you when we go inside, they are not your typical Airstream. They are an Airstream suite and they are designed with your comfort in mind. Come on in.
Oh my God, this thing is so cool. For a second, I just thought about the idea of sleeping here, knowing within few days or few hours, you're gonna do something crazy. You're gonna go to space.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And you guys made it so cozy in mid-century.
And it's honoring the past of the space industry while also looking toward the future.
They're super cozy and comfortable, but free from distractions, while you focus in on your training to go up to space. And of course, you also have to eat.
This is where the astronauts have breakfast and the astronauts have dinner. The astronauts have lunch at the training center. We don't let them, once you go into training, you're in training mode.
This is where things get real. So let me break it down for you. I didn't fly to space, but I documented the entire journey. For that, I made 2 separate trips to the Blue Origin facility. First trip here in August of 2025, I went through the entire training procedure by myself and talked to nearly every individual involved in the process. And then, on my second trip in December, I came back to document an actual mission with astronauts going to space. But I took a backseat to observe their experience and their emotions through the process. Because this crew is doing the real thing. They're going up to space in 48 hours. So let's meet the NS-37 astronauts. Neil, Michi, and Hans on the left, Adonis, Jason, and Joey on the right. 6 space enthusiasts bring their dreams to life. But in this video, we're going to focus on Hans and Michi.
My name is Hans Koenigsmann. I was born in Germany. I moved 30 years ago to the United States and worked as an engineer at the beginning as a small company, and then I grew up and I worked at a bigger company called SpaceX. Worked mostly on Falcon 1, Falcon 9, Dragon. I worked actually pretty much from the beginning.
Hans is a world-renowned rocket scientist, and this is a chance for him to see spaceflight from a different perspective. And Michi is just starting her career in spaceflight. She works as an engineer at the European Space Agency and always had dreams of being an astronaut.
I always wanted to go to space, but I never really considered it to be a possibility for me. I had a mountain bike accident in 2018. When I got here for the first time, I was really a little bit like, how do they react to my disability? But they were so good prepared, and especially like our Crew 7 member, Jake. He let me do my thing and, observed and asked me for my opinion, but also gave me input and adapted everything to what I said. So that was really cool.
We're going to hear more from Hans and Michi later. But for now, let's find out what really went into their training.
Welcome to the Astronaut Training Center.
All right.
All right, let that sink in a little bit. Did you ever think you would end up in a place like this?
Not at all, especially starting touring homes to this point is pretty wild. I'm excited to learn and ask you a lot of questions.
Your training today is going to be a combination of learning concepts here in the classroom and then applying them in the training capsule. Our motto is step by step ferociously, or gradatum ferociter. That first step is to allow people to fly to space aboard New Shepard. But we recognize that we couldn't even take that first step without the pioneers that came before us.
Let's pause here for just a minute. There's one more piece of context we need. How did we get to this point in the aerospace industry? This timeline stretches far back into human history. There was so much philosophy, mathematics, and engineering that paved the way for modern science. But we'll start with our highlights in 1942, when the German V-2 rocket became the first human-made object to reach space. And almost 20 years later came human flight. In 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first person in space. And less than a month later, the first American went up. His name was Alan Shepard. He's the namesake of the Blue Origin mission, New Shepard.
Pilots love to go out and kick the tires. As I stopped and looked at it, to look back at this beautiful rocket, and thought, well, okay, Buster, let's go and get the job done.
In 1962, John Glenn became the first American to fully orbit the Earth.
0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous.
And in 1969, the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon, where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the lunar surface.
This demonstrated that we were certainly on the right track when we took this commitment to go to the moon.
Next came the process of building space stations through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, eventually leading to the International Space Station being continuously inhabited by the year 2000, also the year that Blue Origin was founded.
I would like to go help explore space.
And it was around that time that commercial spaceflight started to take shape in the United States. And in the mid-2010s, Blue Origin and SpaceX started having success with takeoff and landing of reusable vertical rockets. In 2021, Blue Origin had its first human flight. And now, in December 2025, NS-37 will carry the first wheelchair user to ever go to space.
There has been a lot of progress that we've made, but despite all that, the way we actually get to space is very similar. So this shows the flight profile, also painted here on the wall, of Alan Shepard's flight and New Shepard's. So there is a booster section of the rocket that a crew capsule is stacked on top of. It continues its trajectory above the Kármán line, or the internationally recognized boundary of space.
Which is 100 kilometers above.
100 kilometers above sea level. Then in space, this crew capsule separates and exposes this ring fin. And so now it's flying the other way, and now we have aerodynamic center points here. And so we can then achieve stable aerodynamic flight, and then makes an autonomous landing about 2 miles away from where it took off of.
Not having to rebuild rockets over and over again. Fascinating.
So this is your ride to space. Got that lazy boy recliner to it, right? You're kicked back, you're comfortable. That is intentional not only to give you an excellent view out the window, but it's also reclined to help manage the forces of flight. Then the crotch, and then the shoulder.
And before you know it, you're ready to step into the capsule with the rest of your team and run launch simulations.
There you go.
Oh man, it is really comfortable. I'm ready, sir.
Now we're ready. All right.
Astra NS, Blue Control, comm check.
Blue Origin, NS, loud and clear.
We're going to get started at T-minus 30 seconds from launch.
Deep pump in sound from an actual launch and test all communication protocols.
And remember, your primary source of information is the crew alert panel. Yeah. It could be a case where we lose communication altogether.
And these simulations are run over and over again to become muscle memory.
8, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
All right. 0G actually starts at the moment that you have main engine cut off. Release the harness, twisting the belt, shoulder comes off, and wow, what a beautiful demonstration.
World-class acting over here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That crew capsule spends about 3 minutes above the Kármán line, about 3 minutes of weightlessness and space before it re-enters the atmosphere.
How far away the capsule lands?
Within about a 4-mile radius.
Got it.
Where when you come down under parachute, we predict based on the winds that we measure of where it's going to be.
Got it.
We also have the retro thrust system, which fires off a pressurized puff of air, creates a cushion of air for you to land on. And so when we watch the videos of New Shepard coming down, you see this poof, and it looks like, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's like, man, they must have hit really hard. Yeah. But it's really that retro system firing to provide that cushion of air.
So this is what I learned about the launch. From liftoff to landing, the entire trip is about 11 minutes. You speed over 2,000 miles an hour for 2.5 minutes straight up. Then the engine cuts off and the capsule separates from the rocket. You float in zero gravity for 3 minutes, enjoying the jarring view of the planet Earth, while the booster comes back down and lands autonomously. Then the capsule re-enters the atmosphere and lands with the help of parachutes. And there you are, back on the ground.
On launch day, this is exactly the route that we take for the astronauts to load their things. So we come out of the Astronaut Training Center about 40 minutes before T0 or T-minus 40 minutes. You see the structure out there? That is the launch tower. That is on launch day when we roll down there, your rocket is sitting there, and it's a really cool moment as we roll down this road.
All right.
This is our personnel launch tower. We are climbing the stairs today. We want to get a feel for what this feels like. We can start to look back. That's the barn where we're going to go to next. You can also see this structure out there. There's kind of a tower and 2 white tanks. That is an engine test stand. One of the things we do is first when we come up, the astronauts come into what we call the shelter. Cap comes open and the door, you can kind of see the thickness of that structure.
So even if the booster completely fueled, full of hydrogen, full of liquid oxygen, even if that were to explode, you would be okay in this structure. We of course never expect that to happen, but we plan for these backups, to have this room if something were to happen.
When they're ready, we line the astronauts up behind here. You kind of preach that like, I'm getting on a rocket pose and walk.
You're setting the tone for what's to come here.
Yeah. So the bell is actually a tradition that comes from the Navy, is when a signatory or somebody special is boarding the ship, they have a bell that they ring.
What a moment.
You've seen the rocket as you're driving out, but now you're getting a glimpse of your actual spaceship, your crew capsule, and the hatch is sitting there open, waiting for you to board onto your spaceship.
This is it. This is the last piece of Earth you're going to step on before you get into your capsule.
This is one of the best views at the launch site here because we have this grand sweeping view of this awesome, majestic valley surrounded by the mountains.
This is super cool. And before we go to see the rocket, before we get into the launch process, I just want to quickly admit how wild it is to be here. On the largest scale, just being in awe of what humanity is doing, going to space and back. And while we're here, by luck, we stumbled on a sign from the universe. I'm sure you noticed the words on the launch tower.
Light this candle. He's right. Let's light this candle.
Light this candle. Those are the words that Alan Shepard, the first American to ever go to space, said right before he made his historic flight. It became an iconic slogan, and now all astronauts on the new Shepard mission read those words before they get on the rocket. I launched a candle brand 5 weeks before going to Blue Origin's site, and I didn't know about these words before we arrived. I brought the candles because they told us we could fly something up to space. And the candle did go up to space.
They had room for your candle. So
Yes.
I got to see the candle go in.
It might be the first candle to ever go to space. Thank you, Alan Shepard, for this moment. I genuinely appreciate you. Like, in what universe does a completely random and perfect situation like this happen for a startup candle company? Blue Origin team reached out to us roughly 6 weeks ago. There's no way that I could have planned and orchestrated everything in my life to time it perfectly where I have a candle that is hand poured by us standing right in front of this sign. And it is arguably the coolest and the most meaningful sign I could ever stand in front of with a candle. Out of all the things we could have brought here, like seriously, how's this even real? Alright, now back to business, where we have to introduce the last of the main characters in this story, because she's the one who's going to show us the rocket. Her name is Audrey Powers, and she's an absolute badass in the aerospace industry. She worked on the development of the International Space Station. She got her law degree at night while working as a NASA engineer, and helped develop the regulations for commercial spaceflight from the very start of the industry.
I'm Audrey Powers, and I'm the Vice President of Mission and Flight Operations at Blue Origin.
I've had a great deal to do with all of these preparations for human flight.
And here to greet us is the Audrey Powers.
Hey, yeah.
Lovely to meet you. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. This is our vehicle processing facility. We lovingly call it the barn. We've got 2 boosters that are in the flight flow now. The idea of like a vertically landed reusable booster was very new the first time that we did it. The engine doesn't relight until like 1,000 feet above the Earth. So you'll see the launch tomorrow, like it's coming in very hot. When the vehicle's re-entering the atmosphere, you see these squares, these numbered squares on the side of the ring fin. Those are the drag brakes. So those come out during descent and really, really slow the vehicle down. Like you'll see the telemetry on the screen when
Jake
you're
told me
watching
it was 50%.
Yeah. It is, figuring out across all of these systems, how do we increase reliability to the point that we can have a very short maintenance cycle and be absolutely certain that these can meet our human flight certification requirements, right?
And everything that you're telling me and the progress that is being made is going to allow this cost to go down and down and down. Being able to reuse, optimize the time period when a rocket can be reused again.
Yeah.
These are significant improvements.
We call New Shepard the first step in this grand vision that Blue Origin has of flying millions of people to space for the benefit of Earth. We want to offload the pressure that humanity is putting on the Earth in a lot of ways, using up all of its resources. We want to move people to space so that they do that innovation and that development there. In order to do that, our primary tenet is figure out reusability, figure out how to get people access to space easily, quickly, in a less costly fashion than we've typically done. We literally want every person on the planet to be able to fly on New Shepard.
Blue Origin is kind of going through this entire process and optimizing the rockets and want to be able to fly millions of people to space. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
And now that I'm hearing all of you, it is very clear how you guys are getting there. And that's really exciting. It's so close, it's here. Before I came on this trip, I thought that Blue Origin was a space tourism company for wealthy people. But there's so much more going on here. They were the first company to land a reusable rocket in 2015. I mean, this is an aspirational company, and I encourage you to do your own research beyond this video and see what they're doing here. But the most obvious signal that they mean what they say about expanding access is happening on this mission. Michi is the first wheelchair user to ever go to space, and we're here to witness it.
I think I got excited about space when I was a little kid and watching Star Wars. And I really thought it was so cool how people were flying to one planet and to another one, and every planet looked so differently. And so yeah, I really wanted to do that too. But after my accident, I thought, yeah, okay, now it's done. Like nobody will ever allow me to go.
Do or do not. There is no try.
People probably saw how motivated you are, and they wanted to honor that in a way.
I also got lucky with just ending up at the right time, at the right spot.
And how did you end up coming here?
I actually reached out to Koenigsmann. I knew he was on the board of a German space company. So hey, can you just put me in touch with them? I would have a question for sponsoring.
Basically, a year ago, she asked me if she could be an astronaut. I think it was a theoretical question, yeah?
And he was like, so there's a lot we need to think about, but probably.
And so I just started working on that, and then I did talk to Blue, and Blue was really great in their responses. They considered what needs to be changed to get into the capsule, to get out of the capsule, and so they came back with basically, yeah, we think we could do this.
Yeah, and they invited us pretty quick.
And it grew from there.
Yes.
And tomorrow you'll be going to space.
Yes.
If you make space travel more common, then it actually gets more interesting for everybody, yeah?
How do we get more people to space? So people of all different walks of life, artists and journalists and scientists and chefs and every type of person that you need to sustain a human existence in space, we want to introduce them to space on New Shepard.
I can see that the price for something like that, not everybody can pay for. But at the same time, I do think it comes down in price. I mean, these are reusable rockets, technology will proceed, and I think space rockets are kind of trying to get on the same path as airplanes. It's a little bit more difficult because the environment is so much harsher for rockets, but I think it's something that I hope at least to see in my lifetime.
There are two obvious parts of the Blue Origin strategy. Do the science to figure out reusable rockets, and sell rights to space to do more launches, gather data, and lower the cost.
That is how business works, right? Your customers use your services. That gives you repetition to improve your services.
You can look at it as a business or as a space exploration dream. But either way, these launches are happening and moving the tech forward. The rocket is the science and the service. So let's get to launch day and see how this whole process comes to life. In the early hours of the morning, the rocket stands alone.
Launch day!
Here's the thing, I'm excited, but Jake's outfit is so fire. Like, if you
gotta
if you
get
went
him one of
to,
these
I
with
know,
the
like,
feather and the
if
bat.
you went to Los Angeles on Melrose, you'd be like the coolest guy ever. At 5 a.m., 3 hours before the launch, we meet at the village. This is where the astronauts say goodbye to their loved ones and start the last steps on their mission. I left the village, now we're heading to the launch site. It's happening. I mean, rocket is taking off in a matter of a few hours now. And this is where everyone gathers at the site to view the launch. Old astronaut loved ones, some students from around the world.
So we know Audrey Powers through the Purdue Old Masters program.
We were at dinner and Audrey was like, all right, any chance you guys would want to go see a launch at Blue Origin in Texas? And all of us were like, no way, no way. And she was like, what? Like, you're excited to do this?
This is not what I got last time we were here. Last time we were here, it was a really professional experience. This time, there's a significant human element attached to the experience. But I'm excited. Before you know, we're going to be watching it go up. It's going to be fun. They're literally heading to the rocket right now. Get payload this time? So we're currently at fallback 3, which is the closest proximity you can be standing as the rocket launches. You cannot get any closer, and that's why we have all the crew cars here, because once the capsule comes down, we're gonna start the recovery from here. So it's a very important point. And the other aspect is the fact that you have a straight shot to the rocket. I mean, it's literally right in front of us. The rocket separates from the tower. It's happening.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, command engine start, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
Within 60 seconds from the launch, the rocket is traveling 2,500 miles per hour. Then 43 miles above the Earth, the capsule separates from the booster. And the astronauts leave gravity behind.
Passing the Kármán line.
We are in space.
Let's go here.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Woo! Look at this. Planet Earth. Oh my goodness. Incredible.
Can't kind of see the dome line.
Yes.
This is.
It is
I'm
magnificent.
getting used to this. I could hang out up here.
Oh, we are in space.
And as the astronauts float, the booster rapidly descends back into the atmosphere.
Nominally. Confirmed booster forward fin deploy.
Falling from 344,000 feet above sea level.
Deployed.
Only to relight the engine at 1,000 feet above the ground. And a few minutes later, the astronauts start their re-entry.
Astronauts returning.
They free fall from about 200,000 feet for 3 minutes straight. They experience over 5 Gs of force as they come back down to Earth. Their bodies feel 5 times heavier than usual. And finally, the parachutes deploy at about 6,000 feet above the ground. And by the time they're under 1,000 feet, they slow down to nearly 10 miles per hour. The capsule touches down with a blast of air released from the bottom to reduce the impact.
Auto sequence start. Welcome home, NS-37.
As they land, the recovery crew jumps into action. And the recovery vehicles head off the road through the desert scrub. It's time to welcome these astronauts back to Earth.
Hey, out of the blue! Welcome back!
Wow. Musste auch einmal Livestreamen. Congratulations to a successful mission. I'm so proud of you. I'm glad I have you back.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Childhood dream just came true. How do you feel?
It was the coolest experience ever, honestly.
How did it feel to be unconstrained by gravity?
It's super nice. I tried to turn upside down, you know. But I didn't only love like the view and the microgravity phase, but I also loved all the going up. That was so cool, like to feel every stage of going up.
You told me after your accident that you thought this dream of going to space was no longer possible. You just showed the world that it is possible. Hans, you have seen hundreds of launches.
Yes.
Most of them from Mission Control.
Yes.
Get a little different perspective on this one.
True. Yeah.
How did it go?
First time sitting in this pretty intense. It's
Yeah.
pretty forceful, maybe is the right word. And then suddenly everything turns off and everything flows. It's pretty awesome.
Michi, you said that you were grateful to be the first wheelchair user in space, but
Yeah.
you don't intend to be the last. Blue is extremely grateful that you're helping us to ensure that you're not the last.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being a pioneer.
Also, thank you for making it happen. My story doesn't only apply to disabled people. I think everybody has something they're fighting with in life, you know, an obstacle they have to overcome. And I kind of want to show people that no matter what obstacle you have, you should like never give up on your dreams. But I must also say that you can be as good as you want, you know, and as passionate as you want. You always have to have a little bit of luck too.
Michi's message rings true. For us as people, for us as societies, and for us as explorers. I think the human element of her story speaks for itself. But the other side of this, the state of this technology, the state of the aerospace industry, and the rate at which they will improve to get more people to space, to improve conditions on Earth, and grant us some perspective, I mean, that's something else.
human awareness is fundamentally changed when you view the Earth from space. The colors, the blue of the atmosphere, the white of the clouds are like so stark and bright. Looking the other way, this is what astounded me. Looking into the void of space. Like, I don't even like calling it black. Like, it like has a texture. It's like a thing. It is a vast expanse. You know, you look at the Earth and you think the billions of people that have lived on this planet and all of their hopes and fears and joys and sorrows and everything we've done to each other and not done to each other, like in one view. And then you look back into space at this void that is just like you feel it in your soul. I felt this incredible sense of insignificance. I had this very overwhelming feeling, like that black void is what has stuck with me more than anything else. All the beauty that you experience on this trip, it's that.
This was a crazy experience on so many levels. We saw behind the curtain at a company sending people to space. We sent our candle to space, which we'll be giving away, by the way, link in the description. But I also have to admit something. I actually missed the launch. The NS-37 mission had to delay their launch for 2 days and had commitments I couldn't break. But luckily we had all the footage and we had our time to get to know everyone and had all the material to put this video together. And honestly, this video isn't really about me. It's about the story of the aerospace industry, me, and Blue Origin. But on a personal note, as we were editing this video, we found a clip of me nerding out. And I think this clip sums up my feelings really well and shows how inspired I was going through this experience. One day I'm gonna make this happen and I will go to space. I wanna have this on camera because now I got the bug. The bug they all feel every single day. And I would like to think that with this channel, what we have managed to accomplish over the last 6 years is quite extraordinary. So I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna maybe convince them, who knows, but I'm gonna find a way to get myself up to space. And I think it's doable. It is possible. If they can do it, I can do it. If you can dream, if you can see it in front of your eyes, you can certainly live it. I believe in that. So being here, I don't think it's a coincidence. Just like that sign that says light this candle. I don't think life is just coincidences. I think life serves you. Universe is there for you. Things happen for you. And seeing those shots, seeing those windows, seeing people look down on Earth, I want to experience that. And I want to take all of you with me. Because if you're watching our channel since its beginning, since its inception, we started this thing with a GoPro. And it's incredible to see where we are and how far we have come. But why not take that to another level? Why not go to space out of all the places? There are a few pieces of context we need to give as we wrap up this video. After we finished filming, there were some important developments at Blue Origin related to the new Shepard program, and they reached out to us to explain the situation from their perspective. On January 30th, 2026, Blue Origin announced they would pause the new Shepard flights for 2 years. After 38 flights carrying humans and scientific payloads to space, it came time for them to shift their focus to their human lunar program. New Shepard was always a testing ground to figure out how to make rocket launches more efficient, and they've achieved that, and they gave people a chance to experience the perspective of space along the way. Times change, and now Blue Origin is taking new steps with the things they learned from the new Shepard program, and we'll see where it goes from here.